Mr. Dahmer, do you think the GHF has a record of success in delivering aid to Palestinians?
Well, Senator, I think President Trump has been clear not only that he's focused on peace, but that he expects both Israel and Hamas to abide by the ceasefire.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I asked a very specific question. Do you think the GHF has a record of success in delivering aid to Palestinians? It's a yes or no question.
Senator, I don't have enough information about the specific organization.
Don't have enough information? Expertise is critical here. And I'm worried DOD's complete indifference to the experience in delivering aid will only cost more Palestinians their lives.
In the heat of Washington's most scrutinized hearing rooms, Senator Elizabeth Warren once again takes the mic, not for theatrics, but for truth. Her focus, Gaza. Her demand, accountability. As the world watches a fragile ceasefire hang by a thread, Warren presses the Defense Department's nominee on one haunting question: who is really responsible for the suffering in Gaza? With over 70,000 lives lost and aid bottlenecked by politics and power, this exchange becomes more than a Senate hearing. It becomes a moral reckoning. Welcome back to Behind the Podium, where the words spoken in America's chambers echo far beyond the walls of Congress.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So right now we have a fragile ceasefire in Gaza, and we need to make it last. Following the October 7th terrorist attack, Prime Minister Netanyahu initiated a war that has cost nearly 70,000 Palestinians their lives. About a third of them were women and children. We need the ceasefire to put us on a path to peace. Now, one of the tenets of the ceasefire is that all parties must provide, quote, full aid into Gaza, quote, without interference. This is powerfully important. For months, the Israeli government had a near total blockade of food, medicine, and other critical humanitarian supplies, leading to 500,000 Palestinians in Gaza suffering from the first declared famine in the Middle East. Now, Mr. Dahmer, you've been nominated to be the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Strategy, Plans, and Capabilities. If confirmed, you will advise the Secretary on how to align DoD resources to our national security strategy, including enforcing the conditions of this ceasefire. Mr. Dahmer, do you support President Trump's ceasefire, including ensuring full aid goes into Gaza without interference?
Yes, Senator. I absolutely support the president's agenda, including his efforts at peace in Gaza.
Okay. I'm glad to hear you believe that now. In the past, you have tweeted that providing aid to Palestinians makes U.S., quote, support to Israel look performative. But on top of continuing to limit aid, the U.S. government chose to work with Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, an inexperienced organization with no history in food distribution. It was created by management consultants and run by armed contractors. Previous ceasefires saw more than 400 aid distribution sites, but GHF limited distribution instead of 400 to 4. And on GHF's watch, over 1,000 starving Palestinians desperately seeking food near GHF sites were killed amid multiple reports that the IDF has been opening fire on them. Mr. Dahmer, do you think the GHF has a record of success in delivering aid to Palestinians?
Well, Senator, I think President Trump has been clear not only that he's focused on peace, but that he expects both Israel and Hamas to abide by the ceasefire.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I asked a very specific question. Do you think the GHF has a record of success in delivering aid to Palestinians? It's a yes or no question.
Senator, I don't have enough information about the specific organization.
Don't have enough information? Expertise is critical here. And I'm worried DOD's complete indifference to the experience in delivering aid will only cost more Palestinians their lives. Now, on October 21st, U.S. Central Command announced they had opened a civil-military coordination center where U.S. military personnel will help facilitate assistance from international counterparts into Gaza. The Netanyahu government promptly selected one of the architects of the GHF to be their representative at this U.S.-led center. Press reporting indicates DoD is considering replicating GHF's model, including limiting aid distribution to a handful of sites. Mr. Dahmer, this is one of the most complex areas to deliver aid. Would DoD be more successful by partnering with experienced aid organizations that have had some real success in delivering that aid?
Senator, thank you for the important question. I would also note that the U.S. Central Command released just a few days ago video of Hamas actually looting an aid truck as it was being delivered.
I appreciate that, but that is not the question I asked. I have very limited time here. The chairman is very strict about our time. I'm asking you, this is a complex part of the world to deliver aid in. Would DoD be more successful if they partner with somebody who actually had some success in delivering aid in this region?
Senator, if confirmed, I would commit to always working not only across the department on our security cooperation efforts and
Could I just have a yes or no
aid.
to my question?
Senator, what is this? What is the question?
The question is, it's a complex area to deliver aid. Would DoD be more successful if it partnered with experienced aid organizations that have had success in delivering aid in this region?
Senator, I would agree that a demonstrated record of success would be a positive indicator of future success.
Well, I appreciate that. 500,000 people are starving in Gaza right now, and we need to do everything we can to help.
In a charged Senate hearing, tension filled the air as Senator Elizabeth Warren took her turn at the microphone. Her tone was deliberate, sharp, precise, and focused on one of the world's most painful conflicts, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. With nearly 70,000 Palestinians reported dead, a third of them women and children, Warren's message was clear. Peace without accountability is just a pause before more suffering. She began by acknowledging the current ceasefire, fragile, uncertain, and desperately in need of stability. Then she turned her attention to the person sitting before her, Mr. Dahmer, nominated to become the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Strategy and Capabilities. His role, if confirmed, would be to align the Department of Defense's resources with the nation's strategic goals. Goals that now include enforcing the ceasefire and ensuring aid reaches those who need it most. "Do you support President Trump's ceasefire?" she asked, "including ensuring full aid goes into Gaza without interference?" "Yes, Senator," Dahmer replied, "I absolutely support the president's agenda, including his efforts at peace in Gaza." But Warren wasn't satisfied. She pressed deeper, referencing Dahmer's past statements, tweets where he had suggested that providing aid to Palestinians made U.S. support for Israel look performative. For Warren, that was more than a social media opinion. It revealed a potential bias in how humanitarian aid was being viewed, not as a moral duty but as a political act. She pointed out that the U.S. had chosen to partner with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF, an organization with no history in food distribution. According to her, this group was run not by seasoned aid workers but by management consultants and armed contractors. The results, she said, were devastating. Where previous ceasefires had allowed over 400 aid distribution sites, GHF had cut that number to just 4. And under its watch, over 1,000 Palestinians searching for food were reportedly killed near those distribution points, amid reports that the Israeli Defense Forces had opened fire. Then came the question that seemed to cut through the room. Do you think the GHF has a record of success in delivering aid to Palestinians? Dahmer hesitated. "I don't have enough information about the specific organization," he said. Warren's frustration was visible. For her, this wasn't about politics. It was about the human cost of inaction. Expertise is critical, she warned, and I'm worried that the Defense Department's indifference to experience in delivering aid will only cost more lives. She then referenced a recent announcement by U.S. Central Command, the opening of a civil military coordination center to help manage humanitarian assistance into Gaza. According to Warren, the Israeli government had already appointed one of the architects of the controversial GHF to represent them at that center. Press reports suggested that the Pentagon was even considering replicating GHF's model, again limiting aid to a handful of sites. Her question was simple but piercing. Would the Department of Defense be more successful by partnering with experienced aid organizations that have had real success in delivering that aid? Dahmer's response was cautious. He mentioned a recent video released by Central Command showing Hamas looting an aid truck, attempting to shift focus. But Warren didn't allow the conversation to drift. She cut him off gently but firmly, reminding him that time was limited and the question remained unanswered. Would DoD be more successful if it partnered with somebody who actually had success in delivering aid in this region, she repeated. After a pause, Dahmer finally conceded. I would agree that a demonstrated record of success would be a positive indicator of future success. For Warren, it was a small victory, an acknowledgement that competence matters more than politics. But beneath the exchange lay deeper questions about the U.S. role in global conflicts, the ethics of military involvement in humanitarian operations, and the blurred line between strategy and compassion. This wasn't just a hearing about a nominee, it was a reflection of America's struggle to balance its alliances with its values. Warren's words echoed beyond the room, a challenge not just to one official, but to an entire system that often treats humanitarian crises as strategic chess moves. The conversation revealed the tension between politics and morality. On one hand, there is the diplomatic tightrope, balancing Israel's security, Hamas's violations, and regional stability. On the other, there is the moral imperative, the responsibility to protect innocent civilians, regardless of politics. As the clock ran out on her questioning time, Warren left behind a resonating message that experience, accountability, and humanity must guide American policy in Gaza, not bureaucracy or indifference. Her closing tone wasn't loud or dramatic, it was steady and filled with conviction. Because behind all the numbers, reports, and talking points, there are people, families who have lost everything, children who wake up each day wondering where the next meal will come from. And amid all the debates and headlines, those lives are the quiet reminder that peace isn't just negotiated, it's built, protected, and sustained. And once again, behind the podium, the words of one senator forced the nation to listen, not to politics, but to conscience.